this is Lady Boulay, and I hope you're having a marvelous day. Thank you for your support. Thank you for subscribing to the channel. Thank you for your thumbs up, for your comments, and thank you for sharing the videos. Thank you for all you do to support the channel. Well, we have a bit of breaking news in America today. First, we got the surprising news that they had walked Tucker Carlson out at Fox News. And then we got the shocking news that they had walked Don Lemon out at CNN. Now, maybe not literally walked them out, but it's the same thing. They got fired. Tucker Carlson first. Tucker Carlson came to Fox News as a regular shortly before or shortly after Bill O'Reilly was out. Bill O'Reilly was a race baiter. He would use stereotypes to demonize black people. It was always about black people not working hard enough or black people not having good enough character. So he was always doing race baiting. But when he would debate black people on his show, he would accuse them of race baiting, which is called gaslighting, I think, these days. But he did a lot of that. He was very anti-black. Any story that came up about black people, whether it was good or bad, he would switch it around and turn it into something negative about black people so he could bash black people. But that's not what got him fired. He was also harassing those white women on the job and bothering those white women, and I won't go into that, but that's what got him out. In today's American society, you can be a racist and keep your job. But if you start messing with these women, especially these white women, they'll get you fired. And so that's what happened to him, and I was not sorry to see him go. Then in comes Tucker Carlson, acting even worse. Tucker Carlson, in my opinion, was always going to get fired at some point. Number one, he's not smart. And number two, he doesn't really have any journalistic training. He does not have any kind of real training in journalism as far as academics is concerned. He just got that job because he's connected. In fact, his college degree was in history, but apparently he couldn't find a job, so his daddy told him to go into journalism because they would just hire anybody, and his tenure there proved that. He's just a part of the good old boy network. He got by on white privilege because he certainly didn't get by on skill, looks, or charisma. So he made a lot of missteps on Fox News, but probably what put the nail in the coffin was that Tucker Carlson and Laura Ingraham, during the 2020 election when Donald Trump lost, they knew he had lost, but Trump supporters were floating around the idea that the election was stolen and he had actually won, but some fraud had taken place. And they blamed the voting machines, saying that they had been rigged in Biden's favor. So in private, they were admitting that they knew those allegations that Trump had won, but the system was rigged against him, were absurd, was Tucker Carlson's words. But then to his viewers, he was suggesting that there had been some fraud in the election. And so that's one of the things that they used in court against Fox News. So that's probably what got him fired. But Tucker Carlson is just not a good journalist as far as I'm concerned. Because you have to be fair. You have to try to give people the truth. And you just lying for political reasons or just trying to hold on to a job. It's just not smart. So anyway, Tucker Carlson is out at Fox. And if he ends up at another network, I hope that he will go into that job with the approach that he's going to have more respect for the truth. Now, Don Lemon is a different story. Don Lemon he's a Southern boy. He was brought up in Baton Rouge, Louisiana. He graduated from LSU School of Journalism, and he is a good, trained journalist. He cut his teeth in the South in these little small TV stations in the South. Don Lemon has a long history of working in journalism on television news. Don Lemon even worked in Birmingham, Alabama. That's how deep his roots are in the South and in journalism. He went from the South to the Northeast to the Midwest, and he finally ended up at CNN in 2006. Now, that is not an easy journey for a black man in journalism, and you don't get there by being bad at your job. Don Lemon is a good journalist, and I'm not just saying that because he's black or because he's from the South, But he's a good interviewer. He's personable. He knows how to connect with people. And he knows how to get information in a way that's interesting and a way that's not so hard for you to understand. But I like the way he delivered the news. And I think a lot of that happens to black people when they are good at something and they have charisma. They'll push and push and push the black person until they push the person over the cliff. And I kind of think that's what happened to Don Lemon. He did really well when CNN was in Atlanta. He was serious. He was a good interviewer. He was professional. And that's the key word here, professional. Don Lemon forgot his professionalism when they moved to New York. I don't know what it is about the heads at CNN, but they don't know what they're doing. Now that would just be my call. They don't know what they're doing. I liked CNN for many years, especially when Ted Turner still owned that network. So they moved the operation from Atlanta, where it had begun and was headquartered, to New York. I would name that as the beginning of the downfall of Don Lemon, because they always are changing these news directors and whoever is deciding what the direction of the programming is going to be. And to me, they don't consider the interests of the viewing public. They are pushing a political agenda, and they push it 24/7, 365, regardless of what you would like to know, what your interests are, even what you would like to know about the political candidates. They feed you what they want you to know all day, every day. But once he got to New York and they started in on Donald Trump, that was the beginning of the end for Don Lemon, because it became Trump, Trump, Trump. That to me was just very unprofessional, and it was really insulting to the viewers. Number one, the viewers don't want to hear about one person all the time. And number two, if you are biased against that person, we already know what the program is going to be. So bring in some people with some different ideas and have a healthy discussion. That's how I see it. But they weren't doing that. They were just bringing in people that were anti-Trump all the time. And then Don Lemon lost his professionalism. He would be arguing back and forth with the people and become combative in some instances. He was probably way out of his lane in New York. He's a Southern guy. He probably should have stayed around here in the South, where people have some kind of integrity and some understanding about what the average American would like to have in network news. In New York, they moved him from the morning show to a primetime position, and even in that, he did well for a while. But then it came about the Trump stuff, Trump, and all of them were doing it. It wasn't just Don Lemon. But Don Lemon was the one who looked like he was taking things personally. Now, this is my take on this. And the reason I am saying this, because I feel like he got too caught up in the politics of it. It was just Trump overkill. And after he lost the last election in 2020, Don Lemon's ratings just went all the way to the bottom. That was what ended up sinking him in the end, because you have to remain professional in a professional job. And once his ratings went down, then other things started coming to the light, like things he had gotten caught up in off the job. So he'd been on one or two little sleazy things off the job that came back to the public's eye. Somebody even brought a lawsuit against him for some type of harassment at some kind of bar in New York. And one of those LGBTQ bars that he said something or did something insulting to another person. So he got shady after moving to New York. I think that's when things started to fall apart for him. And then a few weeks ago, they moved him from the primetime position back to the morning show. They moved him between two Beckys, and he was ticking them off, making them mad. That became a big public thing. And then he said something to Nikki Haley about her not being in her prime after she said something about Joe Biden's age. And so everybody started calling for his head. Not everybody, but the white women that were upset because he told Nikki Haley she wasn't in her prime at 50-something. And so then that got to be a big thing, and then that died down. And I think he's been in another altercation with somebody. But anyway, today was the end of the road for Don Lemon at CNN. And so hopefully he will go on and find something. He claims he was surprised by it. I think he said they tweeted it to him or texted it to him. Didn't even tell it to him to his face. Maybe they thought he was going to have a flare-up. Who knows? But anyway, that's the end of the road for him at CNN. I do hope that he will rebound with some kind of podcast or some kind of show of his own. You know, at some point you have to stop depending on other people for your livelihood. He's made a lot of money at CNN. He's a millionaire. So he could do something independent and it might catch on and be successful. But you have to stop at some point. If you're going to take the other people's money, you have to play by their rules. You can't make it up as you go. But the main thing as a black person, you have to know you've got to stay professional and you can never let your guard down. You cannot let your guard down, even if you have a partner that's white, even if you're in the LGBTQ community, even if whatever you think is going to give you that leg up, you still need to remain professional. And if you are black, you never let your guard down because people are watching you all the time. And in a prominent position like the one he had, they're watching your job. They want that job. So now they've hired Gayle King and Charles Barkley for a weekly primetime show. So that's supposed to appease black people just in case somebody was going to say they fired Don Lemon because of racism. I don't think anybody could say that. I think he's been there 16 years. He had a good run. He is a good journalist. Maybe he'll get back to his roots. I wish him the best. Okay, y'all, let me know what you think about the video. Subscribe to the channel, give me a thumbs up, leave a comment, share the video, and as always, have a great day.